Welcome to the latest edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime with me, Marchant, Kenney. Thank you so much for supporting the show early on. And early on in this show, I want to talk about a couple Southern Miss athletics topics. First up, baseball. Looks like we're starting to get back on the winning track. Back-to-back SBC series wins over there. And looks like Scott Berry and the crew are going to do some big things in the second half of this season. So let's see what happens. Also, let's talk a little football right now at Southern Miss. And the last two seasons there, quarterback inconsistencies have been a big topic. Well, what do we do in the offseason? We get two transfers, Holman Edwards from Houston and Billy Wiles from Clemson, to get improvement at this quarterback position. Well, if you've seen spring ball and if you've seen the spring game, you can tell we definitely got a lot better at that quarterback position and expect big things in 2023 there. And it'll be interesting to see who gets that starting nod for that first game at the Rock. Well, I appreciate all the fan comments for the show. That's for sure. Been a lot of fun, and that's going to come in this next segment that we call For and Out. Well, this week on Twitter, I asked the Southern Miss Nation, if you were a Southern Miss athlete with NIL opportunities, what company would you want to support you and why? I had a lot of good comments, only can get to 4 of them. So here we go. First up, Roger Dickens at D-Town Doe is his Twitter handle. He says, poke sausage. Because who doesn't like sausage? Thanks, Roger. Next up, at Woodshed King, I knew Wards was coming. Woodshed King adds Wards because it's the home of the big one. All you Wards fans out there, there's a lot of you. Next up, at Cloverleaf Mall, Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. They've been serving quality coffee and delectable donuts since the 50s, and don't get me started on their cold brew drinks. Why Dunkin'? Because it would require D squared to open one of their 8,500 locations in Hattiesburg. Hashtag SMTTT. At Cloverleaf Mall is passionate about Dunkin' Donuts, clearly, people. Next up, Common Sense Eagle at CSGWE70 adds Letha's Barbecue Restaurant would be his sponsor for an NIL deal. And Common Sense says, wouldn't even have to pay him in money. Letha's could pay him in ribs. I like that right there. Thanks for all the comments. Keep them coming in. Well, this show is huge with interviews, as you know, and my next up comes from a guy who started his football career as a walk-on at Southern Miss, and then 4 years later with his playing career became one of the best quarterbacks to ever wear the black and gold at the Rock. With all this said, my interview comes with the one and only Austin Davis. When you talk about probably one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of Southern Miss football, you better include Austin Davis. And he's my guest today, and I am so fired up to have you on, Austin. How's the world treating you, man?
It's good, man. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, man. Your accolades speak for themselves. Back-to-back All-Conference USA, the 2011 Connerly Trophy Award winner, best college football player in the state of Mississippi. The Burlsworth Trophy in 2011, which is super cool, man. A guy who started his career as a walk-on and wound up being the best to do that in college football. So that was a pretty cool award right there. The Southern Miss Hall of Fame and a 7-year NFL career. So how's all that make you feel, man, looking back?
Kind of old, to be honest with you. I can't believe that was, 11 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. I mean, it just absolutely flew by. And to think I was lucky enough really to spend 10 years in the NFL, 7 as a player and 3 as a coach. And it's, that's behind me too. It's like, wow, here I am. And it went by really fast, but wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome, man. You what a heck of a career you had. And it all started at West Lauderdale High School in Collinsville. You were a two sports star in baseball and football. You were the winningest football player, quarterback that they had when you were there by the time you were done, in All-State in baseball. So a little bit on the high school days too at West Lauderdale. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think like a lot of kids in Mississippi, we were just country boys that played ball. West is traditionally a really good athletic school. Baseball's kind of probably led the way for most of the years. We had legendary coach Jerry Boatner there forever, and shoot, he won 10, 11 state championships. I don't know how many, to be honest. So really everyone from my high school kind of got funneled into that baseball world. Obviously, Bo had a great career and then went on to have a good career at Southern Miss as well, and played professionally for a couple of years. But yeah, it's probably a pretty typical high school experience. I was just a typical kid that wanted to, play ball after high school. And, I went and took my ACT, made sure I made just good enough to get in. And that was really it. I didn't, I had a one track mind, and I still have that one track mind. It's good, it's bad, but it did, I guess it served me well when it came to sports, because especially football, I was all in when I got the opportunities that I had.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. What a career. We'll get into that a lot. And talking about West Lauderdale real quick, y'all ran the wing T, so you ran the ball a lot. You were a very athletic quarterback. I mean, obviously two-sport player. So when it came time for college, an amazing thing, you only had one scholarship offer. I think a lot of that because you ran the wing T. And but it was from Southeast Louisiana. But you were so talented, Southern Miss gave you a baseball scholarship. So you decided to go there and also walk on the football team. So how was that little dynamic right there coming out of high school, baseball scholarship, decide to walk on with football?
Yeah, so that's you said it pretty well. I mean, that's probably as accurate as anyone's ever described it. That's close. I think I didn't get recruited for football, and I developed much later. I had some really good coaches in college, and I got a lot better from the moment I walked on at Southern Miss to the day I left. I got a lot better because I had some really good coaching. Coach Bauer was there. His staff recruited me, and then I ended up playing for Coach Larry Fedora. And I'm thankful for him and Coach Blake Anderson. He was my offensive coordinator. They taught me a lot. Without them, I never would have developed, and I probably always would have just been a walk-on. But that's pretty much how it went. It kind of got to the point where I was like, well, if I'm not going to get recruited in football, then maybe I should just play baseball. Like, maybe I should just listen to maybe they know more than I do, type of thing. And I should just go play baseball. Bo was obviously already there, and we knew Coach Corky Palmer really well. And Scott Berry was there. Lane Burrows was there at the time, Coach Burrows. And I felt good with that. And I almost kind of looked at it like, I'll go there. I'm familiar with it. I know I can play baseball. I had the opportunity, ended up having kind of the preferred walk-on thing to go play football. And I was like, well, this is best of both worlds in a way. My parents didn't like it because they had to pay, but that wasn't really on my radar. I was, and they were, again, I mean, you got to give credit to them. They were gracious enough to turn down a full scholarship and let me pursue my dreams when I could have gone to Southeast Louisiana and had it full ride from the get-go. But they were, it's your decision. If you want to do this, they trusted me. And so I think that's a cool part of the story that kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah, one thing about that 2007 season, it seemed like the red shirt was really good for you. I know I even redshirted back in the day. It was good for me. But the Bauer era ends in 2007. In comes a new coach. You mentioned his name, Larry Fedora. And it was kind of a change in approach with offense. We were kind of, a lot of pound of football. We threw the ball pretty well, but it was a lot of pound of football back in the day in the Bauer days. And Fedora comes in with this great offensive mind.
Right.
And you're a redshirt freshman. And he sees so much potential in you. You start as a redshirt freshman in this high-powered offense, the first freshman quarterback to start in 16 years, man. I mean, your first game, you're a freshman. How was that, man, with this new high-powered style offense?
Yeah, I think, Coach Fedora coming in was really one of the best things that had happened to me. Not that anything with Coach Bauer wouldn't have went well. It was just a clean slate. So you go from being a walk-on to you're just kind of the number on the page, because he comes into a new program and he's trying to figure out what he has. So we go out there that spring and he just runs us into the dirt. You know how football coaches are.
Yeah.
There's no program. It's see who's tough. Let's run 110s and let's see who can survive. And just so happened to be, that's kind of what I was good at, just being mentally tough and going. And I think that's kind of where it started. I think it started in that spring running just because I wanted it so bad and I was just going to do whatever I had to do. But to answer your question about that first game, I'll never forget talking to my parents, and it was kind of a position. They didn't. Coach Fedora and the staff, for competitive reasons, didn't come out and say who was going to be the starting quarterback. We were getting ready to play ULL, and I remember telling my folks, like, I'm going to start. And they were like, they just didn't believe me. They were like, "Are you sure? We haven't seen anything in the paper or anything like that." I'm like, "Mom, I'm taking all the first team reps. I'm pretty sure that means I'm going to start. I don't really know, but I don't think they would give me all the first team reps and then get to the game and then not start me." And we had a great game. We had a packed house. Coach Fedora and the staff did a great job building that excitement around the program. I don't know if we sold it out, but it was close.
Well, man, yeah, I'll remember the marketing. Coach Fedora came on with a commercial. It was kind of like black and white, and he was just all attitude, all in. And it was like, dang, look at this. And sure enough, it rolled over into the fans, and the Southern Miss style and way, that grit was definitely kicking in. And you had a heck of a freshman career. I mean, you led the nation for yards as a freshman. I mean, just awesome stuff with this offense coming in. So, but how was that being coached by Coach Fedora in that style of offense?
He was intense. I think it was twofold for me. Like you already mentioned, my high school career, I didn't really have anything to base it off of. I ran a completely different offense in high school. So on one level, I was just, kind of his moldable clay. Whatever he told me, I was going to glue to it because I had no other preconceived notions of what I should be doing. So I was just trying to please him, please the other coaches. Whatever they said to do, I would do. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but as I've grown and kind of learned the game a little bit more and got to spend some time in the NFL, we just had such a really good offensive system. It was friendly. It made sense. It was basketball on grass. It was take care of space, take advantage of space. It was quick, easy completions. And then we got DeAndre Brown, who was 6'5".
Yeah, we'll talk about him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't sit here and honestly say I had this great freshman year without admitting that I got in trouble. I just threw it up to him, and there he was. He was the best player on the field every Saturday, and turned out to be a good freshman campaign for us. We struggled out of the gate, and to be honest, most of the struggle was kind of me figuring it out because the first couple games, it's kind of, you just go out there and you do it, and it's new, and then about 3 or 4 games in, the expectations start to mount, right? It's like, okay, you showed us what you can do. Now do that every week, right? It's not the first game of the season, and the competition got a little better, and we were 2-6 at one point, and 2-6, and I don't know how long it had been since Southern Miss had a losing season, but a long time.
Well, Austin, let's get into that because I kind of had my line of talk with that. So, yeah, I mean, Coach Fedora is a new scheme, new system. Bauer had been there for forever, it felt like. And a lot of change had to happen, a lot of adjustments, what have you. So, yeah, you guys are sitting at 2-6, coming off a 14 straight winning season. So, I mean, kind of getting a little like, oh, we got a lot to live up to, man. And I don't know how y'all rallied the troops, what y'all did, man. Y'all win those 4 straight and finish 6-6. Yeah. And getting to the New Orleans Bowl, which was one of the coolest games to this day that Southern Miss fans have ever seen. But that, how'd y'all do that, man? Go from 2-6 to 6-6. Was it the pressure of continuing winning seasons, or what was it?
I don't really remember anything changing. I definitely, felt a little pressure. I was like, this is great that I'm getting to start, but we hadn't had a losing season in 14 years, and I'm about to take us to a 2-10 season. That's not really what I had in mind. But I think what we were doing was the right thing. It just took time for it to finally click. I forget, to be honest with you, exactly what it may have been the UAB game that we had a fantastic game. I think we were 70-17 or something, and that just kind of sprung us forward. And then we had confidence. We started playing good, and then we kind of got it rolling. And then again, like I said, I kind of had to go through my lumps too as a freshman, and I'm glad I survived that. I probably didn't have much much more rope, to be honest with you. At 2-6, I probably saved it just in time to not get benched. Glad it worked out.
Heck yeah, man. And that New Orleans Bowl, like I said, was so exciting, man. Overtime thriller. And during the game, man, you mentioned DeAndre Brown. And I played back in the day. Injuries happen. And there was a bad injury to DeAndre in that game. I know a lot of people remember it, man. How'd that affect the psyche of the team during that game? Because it was such an intense contest.
Yeah, it was really, really difficult. I remember going over to Coach Fedora and just because it was corner of the end zone. I threw it up. I got hit. I didn't actually see the ball come down, and I go over to Coach. Like, well, what happened? He's gonna be okay. He's like, it's not good. And I knew right then something was bad. And of course, until I didn't get off, it's not until I got to the sideline when I asked, and they're like, yeah, he snapped his leg in half. It was rough, because you're sitting. I mean, they rushed him to the hospital, so you're just not really sure what's going on. And then, guys are talking about it on the sideline. Injuries happen, like you said, but those types of injuries just kind of hit different because they're serious. And then, like you said, that game ended in really good fashion. And
went on overcome that, get the team back focused, and win the game 30-27 on a block kick in overtime, which was so cool. And what's great about that, finished 7-6. The winning tradition continues. 15 straight now, man. So y'all did it from 2-6 to 7-6.
Fire relief.
Yeah. There were a lot of Southern Miss fans there hoping that would happen. I know.
It was the relief of not losing, not the thrill of victory. Trust me.
Heck yeah, man. So, but you put a name for yourself as a freshman, man. I mean, just all sorts of stats, fireworks that Southern Miss hadn't really seen in a while, or really ever seen. But you get into your 2009 season, man, it's going well for you. People are knowing Austin Davis's name, your second year starting. And about game 5, man, you get a foot injury. And it kind of ends your season. Talk about that injury and how you overcame that and just what that was like, with the season coming to a halt for you.
Yeah, that was tough. You just don't, especially when you're that young and you're just kind of rolling and going and life's going good. And, for the lack of better terms, going kind of easy, I remember being pretty heartbroken. I was in my apartment. When I did it, I originally just thought that I twisted my ankle, and then get back on the bus, come back, and realize that it's a Liz Frank, and they tell me I'm gonna be out for the year. And I just went home to my apartment, and I was just like, I sat down and I was just bawled. I was like, it just felt like all that work, all that effort, and we were having a good year. I mean, we were on a great start. I think we were 4-1 at the time. I know we were playing well. We ended up losing that game, but it just kind of all came flooding out. The emotions of not gonna get to play the rest of the year. And I guess I was really just scared of the unknown. I didn't really know what was going to come of it because I mean, good or bad, to get to that point, I kind of put all my energy into doing that. And when that was taken away from me, that's kind of when start to see some adversity in life. And so you don't ever want it to come, but it's not if but when, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, you rehab like nobody's business, obviously, because you came back from that 2010 season, your junior year. And I mean, you guys just start fireworks. I mean, Fedora systems going 7+ games of 40+ points, just rolling along. So what do you credit just being able to bounce back off a foot injury and just get things kick-started again in 2010?
Well, I think just during the rehab, I think to keep my mind focused on improving, I just tried to work on things, arm strength, and tried to stay around. And Martavius played really well. I don't know if you remember how we finished the season, but we ended up back in the New Orleans Bowl at I want to say we went 7-5, and then lost the New Orleans Bowl. So we ended up the same exact record. I think right on that. But Martavius played really well. So going in the next spring, they opened up the competition again.
Mhm.
So that was, that's real life, So, hey, thanks, good job, but we got another guy here too that's pretty dang good. So kind of had to, recompete for the job. So I kind of credit getting back going and having the junior year that we had to just keeping competition alive. That's really what coaching staff did. They weren't playing favorites. I remember Coach Fedora said one time, he's like, people say I played favorites. He's like, darn right I do. The ones that produce.
That's some coach talk. I mean,
Yeah, that's the truth. And I had to go through that, and it was a good. We didn't quite get over the hump that junior year, but we put up a lot of points.
Yeah, Austin, just want to talk a little bit more about that junior year. I mean, you had some great wins, beat Kansas in an awesome win, top 25 on the road, a Central Florida team who had a great defense. And you guys showed up, man. But there was something in that season, man. I mean, things are rolling along. Southern Miss is still winning, doing their thing. I mean, you're putting up numbers. But, man, leading up to the Houston game, man, y'all dealt with some serious adversity, off-campus shooting, man. And, leading up to a week of a game and something like that happening with three of your teammates, thank goodness they're all, survived. But man, how was that with the psyche of the team during that week and bouncing back?
Yeah, it was tough. I want to say we had just gotten back from the big win, Central Florida.
Yep, it was after that week. Yep.
After Central Florida, yeah. And, so obviously guys were excited and I remember waking up the next morning and kind of hearing the news and just kind of thinking like this can't be like really happening, just couldn't imagine for those guys what they were going through. And then, I've since heard the stories from Coach Fedora on, his night getting woken up at 3:00 in the morning and going to the hospital and, going in, talking to Tim, talking to Martez and talking to Diedrich. And just kind of like trying to be in that moment, man, it's just one of those times where like football really doesn't matter right now. We still got to play a game, but really, it's not really on the front of your mind. We went out and absolutely destroyed Houston, so I think we played with a lot of emotions. We had a lot to play for, and kind of propelled us.
Yeah, rough situation right there. But looking back on that team, coming back from tough situation like that, doing what you did, getting back to a bowl, is pretty inspiring, and that's what a team's all about. And that's the beauty of Southern Miss, man. Just, we fight, we claw no matter what happens. In that bowl game too, man, you wound up breaking Brett Favre's all-time touchdown record, man. How'd that feel? When all of a sudden, man, I'm in the same breath as Favre. I'm this Austin Davis, man. I must be really doing something special.
Yeah, I think just accumulating that many games, playing from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, you're gonna eventually break some records, I guess. But it was a lot of accomplishments, and just really being thankful and having the opportunity to play for so long and play on a good team. Most guys that break records and get accolades, they play for a good team and good coaches. So, to be honest with you, I don't exactly remember what score it was or what touchdown. All I remember about that game was the catch, the trick play.
Heck yeah, man. Well, still winning along, another winning season for Southern Miss. So keeping that record going. And now we're getting into a season people still talk about to this day, man. And I've even got a bobblehead Austin Davis doll to prove how good that awesome season was your senior year in 2011. So, but going into that, man, second game of the season, you wind up breaking Brett Favre's all-time touchdown record. So you're just putting up stats, breaking up the stat book. Things are really rolling along for you. So talk about going to that 2011 season, though, and just the hype. I mean, people really thought you guys had a chance to be really good.
Yeah, and it almost felt like we were knocking on the door every year. So it felt like if we didn't get it done that year, it was just going to be such a letdown. As as good as we were, I guess, 7-6, 8-5, we were never really satisfied because we knew we had some pretty good talent in the locker room, and the staff had continued to add guys every year, and we didn't really look at the schedule that last year, and you didn't really see a game on there we couldn't win, and we shouldn't have lost the game. I mean, we really shouldn't have. The two we lost, we were probably better than those teams, to be honest with you, and we weren't on that day, which is all that matters. But we were a better team, probably top to bottom, talent wise. It's bittersweet, man. We had a great year, and gosh, we did what we wanted to do. We wanted to win Conference USA, and we did it. But man, it's hard to think about possibly going 12-0 and playing in a BCS bowl, and that was always kind of like that far-fetched dream that, like, who knows? But shoot, looking back, we potentially could have done it. But that was a great year, and it really kind of encapsulated everything. Without you play to win championships, and that's the legacy you want to leave behind. Championship team. We just had our 10-year reunion. We all went back. Like, it's great to be successful and all that individually, but you remember the teams.
Yeah, and
that team will be remembered forever.
Oh, heck yeah! And I mean, it's a team everybody still talks about. And I want to talk about a couple games from that season, though, man. Just getting into a Navy game. People that know quarterback ratings and stats. Southern Miss scores 63 points and just absolutely smashes Navy. Austin Davis has a 237 quarterback rating. Do you remember that game in particular and what it's like being in kind of a zone or what have you? It was just, a 237 quarterback rating, brother, is just, that's silly.
Well, I'll tell you what I do remember about that game. I remember, so one thing that people may not realize about when you get ready to play one of the academies that run the triple option, you're going from the defense all weeks practicing against spread offenses, and then now all of a sudden, mid-season you got to play against this totally different offensive scheme. So the coaches are stressed, talking about how tough these guys are, and they're just offense gonna be so hard to stop, and we're trying to run scout team, wing T, and we're terrible at it. So there's just it's just a unique week, and it's just like. At one point, I remember during the week just being like, "Would you guys calm down? Like, we're gonna be fine," But there was it was just different, right? So we get to the game, and sure enough, we stopped them on the very first drive, I think, on a goal line stand. But the rest of the time, they were just running up and down the field. And all I remember is Coach Dan Dish, defensive coordinator, coming up to Larry Fedora and saying, "You better keep scoring because we ain't gonna stop them."
You gotta love an honest defensive coordinator.
I guess that just motivated me because I was like, well, we better score 60 today, boys. I think we won like 60-40 something. And so
yeah, well, I think actually that was 63-35 because I want to talk about that game because I read a lot about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, but that was it. I guess I just overheard Coach Dish being like, better keep scoring.
That's awesome, man. No, and wound up, like you said, having a great year. I know a couple tough losses in there, and we had chance for bigger things, but man, y'all win Conference USA East and finish 10-2, and it sets up a marquee game that I promise people are still talking about this day. I'll pull it up on YouTube just for fun every now and then. Number 24 Southern Miss, number 5 Houston, undefeated Houston for the Conference USA Championship. It's on ABC, people. Not every day Southern Miss is on ABC. Houston wins this game. They're going to the Sugar Bowl. Man, the hype for that game that week, what was your mindset going into that one?
I think we were right where we wanted to be. I think we were right in that Southern Miss mentality where everyone was talking about Houston. Everyone just assumed they would win. We were the lucky to be their team. They were number 5, like you said, undefeated. And rightfully so. I mean, they had a phenomenal season. They were putting up 50, 60 points a game. And it was just like we didn't even stand a chance. I know Coach Fedora's got some stories about the pregame production meetings and things like that when they were talking about the trophy ceremony, and they were like, okay, Houston, this is where we're going to do the trophy ceremony for you guys after the game. I mean, just like total disrespect. And like this is how they're going to do it. And And I think, that helps. I thought we played good as underdogs, and we kind of shocked the world, if you will. We didn't shock ourselves. I thought our defense they were absolutely dominant. I mean, they played lights out. And I mean, we just played a really good game, and 49-27, but could have been worse. I fumbled going into the end zone at the end of the game. We could have had 50 on them. That's what Coach Fedora brings up when I talk to him. It's like, should have hung 50 on them. I'm like,
I can see Coach Fedora doing that.
Should have hung 50 on them. At 49, I fumbled going in the fourth quarter. But that was, that kind of put a bow on the whole thing.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I mean, win Conference USA. And what's a funny story about that in hindsight, you cost Conference USA millions of dollars with not getting no BCS Bowl. So kind of like, I know CUSA was like, oh, man. But Southern Miss was happy. Southern Miss was happy.
We were the only ones that were happy.
Yeah, I remember that vibe, man. But congratulations on that big win. People still talk about that to this day. And once again, you holding up the trophy. It's turned into a bobblehead doll now, Austin. But go to a bowl game, the Hawaii Bowl, Nevada. How was the week in Hawaii, man, with the team and just that aloha vibe, man? What was that like?
That was probably one of the most unique experiences I've had. It was almost kind of like we had accomplished our goal. Like we kind of set out to do. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but typically the Conference USA champion would play in the Liberty Bowl against an SEC school. That was kind of the format of the bowl matchups. But for some reason that year, someone else got a bid over us, and we didn't get into the Liberty Bowl. So I remember thinking, like, man, like my whole career, I wanted to play an SEC school, win conference, play Liberty Bowl, play an SEC school, and that kind of fell through. So it was like, well, let's just go on vacation. So we booked it out to Hawaii. We played a pretty good Nevada team, but we went out there, and I think we practiced like 30 minutes a day. We didn't practice. I don't even remember the game plan. I mean, we literally just went on vacation. And oh, by the way, we got to play a game in a week. Coach Fedora let loose, the coaches let loose. We had so much fun, and Coach talks about, like, that's why he wanted to take us all out there, is because, I mean, how many of us have ever been to Hawaii or ever get the chance to go back to Hawaii? Like, once in a lifetime opportunity for all of us. And we went out there and cut loose. I mean, we were, honestly, we played horrible in the game. I don't know how we won. I do remember some games, the stats I had. My stats in that game, I was 19 of 41. I completed like 30% of my passes.
But you're a winner, man. You ended your career on a win.
We did win.
Let's look at the big picture, man. That senior year is one of the greatest seasons in the history of Southern Miss football. You guys finished 12-2, Conference USA champs. Top 5 road win over Houston, finished number 19 in the country, man. So just looking back, and personally for you, man, stat-wise, the best football career that a quarterback's ever had. I hope I don't miss one, but if you look at the stat book, when you were done, Austin Davis over 10,000 passing yards, over 1,000 rushing yards, over 109 total touchdowns, and you caught 2 touchdowns. Do you remember those 2 that you caught?
Caught the one in the bowl game. What's the other one?
There are 2, man. I didn't dig.
Maybe they gave me an extra.
I got 2 listed for you, man.
I'll take it.
Heck yeah, man. But no, what a career. I mean, unbelievable. Congratulations. And I'd be doing everybody a disservice out and bring this up too. You mentioned your brother Bo was on the Southern Miss baseball team, and in 2009, while you were there, they go to the College World Series, which is unprecedented for Southern Miss. How was that in 2009? Just to backtrack a little bit before we get in the NFL, with your brother in the CWS, man. How cool was that?
That was one of the greatest memories of my life, to be honest with you. So they end up going to the College World Series, and we end up playing in the very first game of the College World Series, and Bo is batting leadoff. So and this is the last year for you baseball fans out there. This was the last year that the College World Series was held at Rosenblatt Stadium. They were building TD Ameritrade at the time. So this is the old school classic College World Series stadium. My whole family went, And so Bo's leading off, first at bat of the entire thing, playing against Texas. And first pitch, he absolutely drills one to deep center field. And I'm like, this is like a movie. Like, I can't, he deep center, and the guy literally catches it up against the wall. And I was like, oh, man. But
Oh, man.
it was such a, I mean, I remember the Super Regional down at Florida. I went to that, and I've never been so nervous watching in my life. I mean, watching sports when you have an interest as a fan is one thing, but watching it with a family, or I hear parents talk about it all the time, like watching your kids play sports is totally different. Well, I just remember being in that seat and just like shaking. And the closer they got, I was like, they're really going to do this, you know? And so that was cool to watch and to get to see him experience that. And only team ever to go to Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal. You know, it's always going to be something we talk about, man. But yeah, just recapping your Southern Miss career, man, hell of a career. So now it's NFL time, man. And somehow, some way, this talented Austin Davis goes undrafted. I don't understand it. So you become a steal, man, in free agency. Wind up going to St. Louis, the Rams. But man, you're making it in the NFL. You're in training camp. So what would you say the biggest transition from a quarterback just ending his season as a senior in college, coming into the NFL and transition? What are some of the biggest things to get ready for and prep for?
Man, you know, you think you're full time sport, you know, football until you get to the NFL, and then you really are. So I think just taking it from like school and a hobby, and then now it's your job, right? So it's just a totally different, you know. Now and you got to be honest, the amount of money's involved. So now it's like now you're thinking about, you know, that it's just like a total different dynamic. You're trying to kind of live your life and be a professional, and it's totally different transition. People talk about transition, you know, high school to college, college to pro. You know, college to pro is much steeper, in my opinion. The game was fast, didn't get that many reps. I mean, you're a rookie, you know, you got guys that have been there for 5 to 7 years, you know, just the obstacles are real at that level. And you know, I was fortunate and lucky enough, I kind of finagled my way onto the roster for a couple of years and got a chance to play a little bit.
Hey, man, it is a small percentage of college football players that make their way in the NFL. You want to give 7 years, but 3 years with the St. Louis Rams. So, you know, making a big name for yourself here and there, but I know you're not doing what you want to do. But year 3, man, you get that start in the second game. How was that like, your first start as an NFL quarterback?
Well, I'll take you back to the first game of that season.
Okay.
Because I started the second game, but I went in at halftime of the first game because
that was Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, correct.
Minnesota,
so,
yeah. Okay.
Sam Bradford gets hurt in preseason, third preseason game. So he's ACL, he's done. So Sean Hill was our backup. I was third, and then so Sean ends up getting the start. He pulls his quad right before halftime in the Minnesota game. So in a matter of 2 weeks, I went from third string practice squad to we're running in for halftime, and our offensive coordinator turns around and says, "You're going." So I'm running into the locker room at halftime, like, "All right, here we go!" Like, I can't turn back now. So it wasn't one of those moments where you just get thrown in there and you can play. I had to run into halftime and think about it. And I'm pretty sure we were losing. And I'm like, okay, this is it. So I go out, and we didn't do too hot. We ended up getting beat pretty good, threw an interception. And then so they're, you know, trying to get Sean back all the next week. We're getting ready to go at Tampa Bay, which ironically is my childhood favorite team. I grew up a Tampa Bay fan. And so
can we get on the Tampa subject, man? How do you feel about the creamsicle uniforms? I think they're the most beautiful uniforms in the history of the NFL. That's just me.
Well, that's why I picked Tampa Bay as my favorite team. The uniforms. That's serious. People are like, why didn't you like the Saints? I was like, they were terrible. Did not go for the Saints. I ended up being a Tampa Bay fan. But so yeah, I mean, looking back, I think I was just so in the moment and so focused on all the things I had to do to get ready, and I almost didn't have time to be nervous. I know I was, but and we go out and win the game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just was like, my dad was there. I gave him the game ball, and that was to be honest with you, that was probably the highlight of my football career, was to be able to do that and give him the game ball, and
Oh,
that was pretty sweet.
wow, Austin. I mean, it's just special, man. I mean, you're one of a handful of people on planet Earth that can say they were starting the NFL, man. You did it pretty early in your career, too, man. So congrats on that. That's
Yeah,
huge.
I
So,
appreciate that.
yeah, heck yeah, man. 3-year run with the St. Louis Rams, and then you wind up going to the Cleveland Browns. So how was that transition to Cleveland?
It was so like you said, year 3, I get to play, and then going into year 4, I'm thinking, okay, I kind of established myself. Like maybe I'm going to have a little bit more of a stronghold on a roster position in St. Louis, and it just didn't work out that way. I ended up getting kind of put in the shuffle again, and didn't really get a bunch of reps, and just kind of like frustrating, tough, challenging. So, but I guess the good news on that was I did have some interest from outside teams because of the way I had played in those 8 games the previous season. So yeah, they end up letting me go, and general manager Les Snead actually told me, he's like, I think you probably get a call from the Browns. Like we know they're interested. They tried to maybe trade for me or something right before the cut deadline, and they called, and it felt good to be wanted. To be honest with you, I was just like, wow, this is cool. Like this is the first. They want me. They got plans for me, if you will. Like it was a totally different feeling, and I was excited to just keep growing and keep going.
Heck yeah, you want to be in the starter for the Cleveland Browns, man. You're being successful. So at Cleveland, man, just a quick question because he's a big name in football, man. Your teammate's Johnny Manziel there. How is that being teammates with Johnny Football, man?
It was interesting. I think maybe his inconsistencies, we'll call it, is probably why they signed me, to kind of just show up and make sure that we have somebody. But I will say it's interesting. You get to know people in their fame and their public image, but then you get to know someone in person and work with them. And a lot of times you get to know maybe a different person than everybody else knows. So Johnny and I actually ended up being really good friends, and got a lot of good stories from my time with Johnny. And and he actually had a chance to start a game because of him, because he just took off. So it all worked out for me.
Yeah, we'll be doing this service. I didn't ask you about Johnny Football Time being a teammate with him, man. So thanks
Yeah,
for
I mean,
answering.
what a legend. I mean, what a legend.
Oh yeah, man.
I will never forget his game against Alabama. I forget
Never.
which one it was, when he just spun around
Yeah,
and took over.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Legendary game. So you're in Cleveland, man, the dog pound, but you're kind of feeling the business side of things. But a lot of teams are wanting you, man. You want to go on to Denver, Seattle, and then Tennessee to end your career. If you don't mind kind of breaking down that little run right there, man. I mean, now you're in years 4 through 7 of your NFL career. So how was that little run there towards the end there?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like you said, it just became just kind of latch on, trying to get some traction, get myself back into a situation that I had in St. Louis, where I could string some starts together and kind of show back up on the radar, if you will. That obviously didn't happen, and I had 3 really good years with the best job in America, they say, backup quarterback, never get hit, show up, a good career. So, and I met a lot of people. I mean, looking back, when I, think about it, I got to go to all these different teams, meet all these people, all these good coaches, just legends in the football world. Gary Kubiak, I got to play for him the year after they won the Super Bowl. Obviously, Pete Carroll, got to play and coach for Pete Carroll, that was a treat. He's one of my favorites. But I mean, the list goes on and on. I got to go, coaching. I got to go to the combine and just be around all these people you see every Sunday, and it's just it's a unique experience. I mean, I can't, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Just to say I got to do all that. All the money in the world can't, replace experiences, and so I got a lot of good memories about those 7 years.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I mean, obviously, Southern Miss career is about second to none. In 7 years in the NFL, so you should hang your hat and be very proud of everything you did, man. That quarterback position. So, but man, a lot of things when I read about you, coaches talk about you like, man, this guy's got a football mind. There's no doubt about it, man. You just got this deal about you. That's why you're so successful at quarterback. So, what do you do right when the NFL's over? You get into coaching. You get with the it makes sense, man. You get with the Seattle Seahawks, man, as an assistant. And after that first year, I want to say, I don't want to mess anything up, 19. Then we get into 2020, where you become the youngest NFL coach at that time at 30 years old. So that coaching run with the Seattle Seahawks, man. I mean, how was that run?
I couldn't have picked a better place to coach. I couldn't have picked a better organization. I fell in love with Seattle when I played there. We mentioned I bounced around. I played all these different teams, but when I got to Seattle, it felt different. The culture was different. We won. It was competitive. It felt like college football. It felt like the business aspect was less there than anywhere else I'd ever been. And I remember just thinking, I love it here. I love being a part of this program. And so when I did kind of get to the end of my time as a player, I reached out to Coach Carroll and just said, hey, I would love the opportunity to get into coaching. And he was on board with it, got me in that first year. And the next year I took over as quarterback coach. And a lot of that had to do with my relationship with Russell. And he favored having someone that had kind of played the position that he could kind of bounce ideas off of. And I backed him up for a year. So we built a great relationship. And yeah, I mean, I think my greatest skill set when I was a player was my mind. I mean, just studying it, enjoying it, and trying to get good at it. And then I guess it served me down the road.
Yeah, and your name, I mean, really at a young age, I mean, you're kind of getting noticed out there and kind of getting to what happened. You get an opportunity to be the offensive coordinator at Auburn, which is a tremendous opportunity. So you decided to take the job. So if you don't mind talking about that Auburn, job, I know it wasn't long for you, but just kind of that little take from you on the Auburn job that you did have right there.
Yeah, so I started coaching in 19. I coached in Seattle in 19, and then 20 and 21, I was the quarterback coach. And then I get the opportunity, and about the midway, somewhere in that third year in Seattle, I'd kind of gotten to a point where I was thinking like, I'm succeeding, I'm enjoying this, but as far as life goes, something's missing. I'm working a lot. I just kind of, something in my head was kind of there, like this is good, but maybe there's more. Maybe there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. So it's kind of floating around in my head. I'd kind of gotten in touch with an agent because I was, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to just be, just a guy that shows up. I want to go be a head coach one day. I mean, that's just kind of how I'm wired. But so I got an agent. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, I want you to talk to the head coach of Auburn. They're looking for an offensive coordinator." So at that point, I'm just like, I mean, to be honest, I'm just completely blown away. I'm like, "What? Are you serious?"
Yeah, I mean, you're 31, 32 at that point. I mean,
yeah, 32, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, whatever. Sure. Yeah, let's do it. So we Zoom interview, talked to Coach Brian Harsin. He was awesome. We're playing a game in Houston. We fly back with the Seahawks. We fly back. We get back at 11:30. I go to the facility. I'm putting together PowerPoints till 2:00 in the morning. Go home, sleep for a couple hours. Back at 5:30. That was a crazy week. And go through the whole process. And talk to Coach Carroll. He was awesome, and really pushed for me. And I ended up getting the job. And I think what happened in that moment was I just kind of got enamored with the position and the title and the money and the status and just the lights and the glamour, and I kind of forgot where my heart was with the whole coaching thing. And then, so fast forward, I get there in January. I'm there. I'm on the road recruiting, and I realized I can't do this. Like I just can't do it. And I had a decision to make. I mean, by far the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. I had a decision: do I go through the motions and push through this year for all the wrong reasons, for the money, for the safe face, for whatever, you name it, and give these kids half of who I am, or do I go in there and do the right thing and talk to Coach Harshman about where my heart's at? And that was tough because he put faith in me, he hired me, and I was, just wasn't in the right mindset to do the job. And I felt like it was the right thing to do to let someone else take that position. And from that point on, I moved home. I've been home. I'm enjoying going home at 5 o'clock. I just ran my race, to be honest with you. In football, I did. I got to the end of my road, and it was a great journey.
Yeah, no, great journey. And I felt the sincerity in everything you said, man. For anybody, listen to that part. I mean, job burnout's a part of things. Just people move, switch jobs. I'm on job number 4, I think, right now, or 5. So I mean, it's just yours just happened to be in the microscope, and everybody can see it, and what's going on. So hey, man, I'm making a move. It's what it is. I know everybody.
Yeah, it was.
Just is what it is.
I talked to my family about it, and I was like, my mom was kind of like, well, I'll probably talk about you for about a week, but then they'll forget. Everyone's gonna move on. I was like, yeah, you're right, and
yeah. So.
it was a big step for me to, because it is hard to step out of it because it's all I've ever done, but I just kind of wanted to pursue some new things, and man, I'm loving life now.
Yeah, and kind of get into some new things, man. We'll get into your career a little bit later because I know you got a lot for me to talk about right there with what's going on right now. But man, you're working with my guy Jason Baker, the play-by-play guy for ESPN Southern Miss home games, man. So back in the limelight, back doing TV, man. How's that? Just working on TV. Jason Baker's awesome play-by-play.
Yeah,
you guys do a great job.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was raw last year. I mean, I just kind of got thrown out there. I think I was down at a baseball game last spring, and Lee Roberts said, "Hey, would you want to do the games on ESPN Plus with Jason Baker?" I hadn't even met Jason at the time. I was like, "Heck yeah, that's perfect! Like that's a perfect fix for me to be around the game, but not be as tied to it. Stay interested, and if broadcasting is something that works out in the future, great." So yeah, I ended up doing. I think we did 4 games because NFL Network picked up one. Ended up calling a couple games, and got every intention of doing that again this year. And I'll tell you, my first game. So headsets are on, producers in your ear, you're kind of pregame. I'm so nervous. I mean, I'm way more nervous than I've ever been playing. And we get to kind of do a couple dry runs on our opening. But we don't get to record it. We got to go live, and we got to do it on the spot. And I'll never forget when Lee Field is our producer. He's like, "All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8." And he starts counting down the live. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my chest is just going.
And you're a former NFL quarterback.
This feels like I'm about to run out of time.
Refreshing to hear.
Yeah, it was good. I was like, man, this is good. And a little more comfortable as the games went on, and kind of figured it out. But I enjoy it.
Yeah, heck yeah, no, you guys are doing a great job, man. I don't miss Southern Miss anything. So, and speaking of that, man, these interviews that I've done so far in this show, I've been just kind of telling the story, and you got a heck of a story to tell. So thanks for sharing everything with me. Yeah. But man, I think we'd be doing people a disservice if guys like you and me didn't talk about maybe the current state of Southern Miss football heading to this 23 season, things to look out for. So, man, Austin, you first, man. What are your thoughts on this season and what have you for Southern Miss football?
I'm excited. I'm really fired up for what Coach Hall's doing. I think he's kind of brought back a Southern Miss blue collar recruiting Mississippi kids. I think last year in the transfer portal was all Mississippi guys, right? All guys that went to State and Ole Miss. I think one guy was from Arkansas and pulls them back in, and just good mojo. They got it turned around last year, won some games. I'm excited about the Sun Belt Conference. I think that was a really good move for us. Conference USA was just kind of dwindling, and I think we made a really good jump to a really good conference. And I think things are on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, really towards the end of your run at Southern Miss, that's kind of the last really like harumph for Conference USA where we were really feeling it. Towards the end there, man, I got to be honest. They put on Twitter, I wasn't really excited about what other teams in Conference USA were doing, man. I just followed Southern Miss, and that's it. Like tonight, when we're recording this, we happen to be recording during March Madness. Lafayette's playing Tennessee in the Big Dance. Man, I'm a Raging Cajun fan because it's good for the Sun Belt. It's made a lot of change for us. The schedule this year, though, I talked to Will Hall not too long ago on this show. You know, it's not easy, man. What do you think about this schedule this year?
I think playing the big non-conference games is it's a good thing for us. I mean, it's challenging, but those are fun games. I remember for me, when we used to play Power Five schools, if you will. Those were fun ones. Kansas and Virginia and Auburn. My first road game ever was Auburn. I mean, it's just those are highlight moments for the kids on the team, for sure, and not for coaches. Them.
Well, no, Austin, shameless promotion. It's anyone, anywhere, anytime, man. I mean, it's the name of the show, So that's a Southern Miss way, and that's what we do, man. But yeah. We got some new quarterbacks in here this year, too. And if there's one position kind of been a little, not as steady as we wanted to be as a quarterback position, I don't know a better take from anybody than Austin Davis on what you think of this season in that quarterback position.
Yeah, I think that'll be it always is, right, in football. If you can solidify that position, if you can find a guy to just kind of take the reins and run with it, I think that'll be the difference. And I know Coach Hall and I know the staff, that's what they're looking for. Keep it competitive, find somebody to take it to the next level, whoever that may be, just to solidify that position. I think it's sure if we brought Will on right now, that's what he would say is his number one focus going into this year.
Yeah, that's true, man. And one thing you keep saying, Coach Hall, man, I definitely believe in him. He's bringing kind of that Southern Miss swag a little bit. You can see the players a little bit, the way they act.
I've heard good things about the culture. I've heard the guys are just loving it, having fun. I mean, I mentioned that with being in Seattle with Coach Carroll. I mean, it's so much better. I mean, having a good environment, guys enjoy being there. It just doesn't have to be so rigorous. What's the word? Just doesn't have to be so stiff, and there's pressure. That's just college sports. There's pressure. There's pressure to win. Coaches have to win. Their job's on the line. Players are on scholarship. They're expected to perform, do well in school. I mean, that's just the nature of it. But if you can figure out a way to get through all that and just cut loose and be the athlete that you are and go out there and play, I think that's when great teams excel.
Man, that's a great way to put it, man. So just a little Southern Miss talk from Austin and me, just kind of end the show right here and close things up. But what are you up to now, Austin? I mean, tell the crew what's going on in your world.
Well, as of 2 weeks ago, I just took a job at Community Bank here in Meridian. So we got branches down in Hattiesburg, but yeah, so I'm in training to be a loan officer. I did business in college. So I've got a little bit of finance background, but I had a guy come into the branch the other day, and he's like, Austin Davis. He's like, what are you doing here? I was like, man, I just like going home at 5 o'clock. I was like, I'm good. So I'm training. I got a couple more weeks training. I'll be down in Laurel. But as soon as I get done with training, I'm gonna be coming for some of those Southern Miss folks. So you guys, come on.
How does Austin Davis not get people's ears up? And well, he's in the banking world. I'm switching my account, so I can just see it happening maybe a little bit here and there.
Sure, why not?
But congratulations, man, with that career. And like I said, speaking of your career, man, one of the greatest Southern Miss football players of all time, period, end of story. That 2011 season go down in history as one of the greatest. What do you have to say to the Southern Miss Nation, man? Maybe some closing words from the great Austin Davis.
Man, I definitely miss it. Like I said earlier, time has flown by. Just so happy to be a part of the family. You know, we've always taken care of each other, and you know, if I could do it all over, I'd do it all the same. I'm glad to be a Golden Eagle, SMTTT.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate that as always. Southern Miss to the top. Excited to have you on, man. I was telling my wife Angela, having Austin Davis on. This is so cool. So I appreciate you doing this for the show, man. And we'll hopefully catch up with you soon at the Rock.
All right, appreciate you guys.
I thoroughly enjoyed catching up with Austin Davis right there. And one thing I enjoyed recently was this past Southern Miss men's basketball season. And one of the players from the team was a big reason why we did so well. Felipe Haase. And while he's not going to be in black and gold, that makes me a bit sad. I am super fired up for him to be on this show and to share some of his favorite Southern Miss memories.
What's up, everybody? It's Felipe Haase here, /center at USM this year. And man, I gotta talk about my favorite memories at USM, and it's not easy to think about one, especially I have a couple, but I'm gonna split a little bit. During like my first memory right away was the Cancun challenge. We went up there. We started the season great. We had great feelings. We were at an amazing hotel, amazing tournament, and we got that first championship of the season. So that was a good one. We connected a lot over there in Cancun. We hang out after all that stuff, so it was pretty fun. Then second, I'm gonna skip until Sunbelt play already. When we play UL here at Rick Green, man, that was electrifying. It brought so much joy to us. It was so much joy to the team, joy to Hattiesburg. Seeing the Reed packed again, it was amazing. It was one of our big goals of the season, so it was amazing. And then of course, Texas State up there when we clinched the regular season championship. It was great. It was the locker room after the game was amazing. It was so worth it. So like we really did it. And then I wish I could tell you one more about going to the tournament, but hey, man, we fell short. But it's been a great ride at USM. I love all the fans. I'm sure they love me because all the love they show. So USM will have a place in my heart forever. And yeah, man, I have so many memories. I could be doing this for 30 minutes, but that's the most important ones. And yeah, peace and love.
Thanks so much for sending that story into the show, Felipe Haase. Well, that's it for another edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please go ahead and subscribe over there as well. Well, until next time, as always, it's Southern Miss to the top.